First of all, congratulations. It's a powerful, beautiful film and a really interesting perspective to a story I had heard before and not really had a lot of insight to. But Sky, I do want to start with kind of just attaining that balance of, there is a narrative that needs to be crafted for a film, but then it's a real life person, right? And you want to be sensitive to like the things that they went through or the way that their perspective is. So what can you tell me about how you crafted the balance of story and who John really was?
Yeah, such a good question. I think we, of course, looked at the relevant, factual documents, social media, but ultimately it sort of land on this realization that actually we have to make our John. It's such a fictionalization of a true story, and it really, I feel, says more about almost Justin's life or my life, in many ways, and so I think the best way to honor that was to bring ourselves to it, with as much sincerity as we could. It also, I think there was an element where I felt, I did feel like, there is a level of dignity that must be given, and I went out and I just really spoke to a lot of people who are from the community that John was a part of, and just really tried to understand what it is to be in the headspace that he was, and it was kind of just, yeah, it was that, and I was welcomed in very beautifully by that community, and yeah, it really shaped a lot of the way that I think even today.
Just to follow up on that, you're not only portraying him in 2018, you actually go back to like his younger years and we get to see him kind of grow and under like kind of fall deeper into this mindset and his mission. So like when you went back, like I know there's like the Instagram and stuff like that, but how did you want to portray kind of that arc for him of going from wide-eyed and inspired to like an almost crazed obsession with trying to fulfill his duty?
I think it was coming from a place of uh, really understanding what that period is right when you've just graduated into the world.
Mm.
Um, and man, I just remember just feeling completely lost. And like everyone knew what was going on in their lives and what they were doing. And I felt like didn't have a clue.
Mm.
Um, uh, and yeah, I guess it was just about really charting this idea between like coming from lost and found, and where John places his North Star, at which period of time.
Thank you for that. Ken, I was reading something about Justin and how his kind of portal into this story wasn't necessarily through John, but through Patrick. And I really resonated with that too, because, I'm the son of immigrants and my parents only want what's best for me. And the things that they went through for me to be where I am today are vastly beyond my understanding and scope. But I do want to talk about kind of wrapping your head around what that mental state looks like. Because in your performance, I literally saw, the heartstrings ripping as he was losing his son to this like ideology. And I'm just wondering, how did you wrap your head around kind of Patrick's emotional journey?
I have to say, I think I got a lot of that from Sky, working with him in person to seeing the film. I've always felt like I never felt like Sky was playing a role necessarily. I felt like he was able to uh, open something, a portal that allowed whatever needed to come out. And I really, it wasn't an intellectual thing. It was a feeling kind of thing. And I just went with that. I, I relied on it. That was sort of because I couldn't really articulate it, and it wasn't out of cleverness. It wasn't out of anything, and it wasn't expected. I didn't know who he was or what it was going to be like. I was really grateful for it, and I feel that I followed that line.
The thing is, she's trying to protect the Sentinelese, right? And what are the
Mm.
Sentinelese? The tribe that doesn't want to be to have they want to have anything to do with the people outside, and they want to be left alone. And Meera, for what she's going through in her own life,
Mm.
wants to be left alone, which is why she's taken a posting so far away from wherever she's from. And people don't accept her, haven't in the past accepted her for who she is. And they want to change her. They've in the past wanted to change her. And so there's a very direct resemblance to what she's protecting and what she's lost. It's her personal journey, and that's why the case becomes quickly personal, and that's why her rage towards John Chau and what he's doing is rooted in her personal uh, loss and personal journey. Um, Also, I think that philosophically and politically, she doesn't agree with John,
Mm.
but she finds a connection because they both, in a way, are islands. They both, in a way, are lost.
I do want to talk about Justin Lin because I think for a lot of people, we know him from, the Fast franchise, these big blockbusters, but I also know that he has independent roots. And for both of you, I'm just curious what his direction was like on this film because it does feel quite grand in scope, given that it's an independent title. But look, how did that sensibility kind of work in your favor as performers to have such a great leader at the helm?
I really see him as being a really inspirational person in my life. Like he's very sensitive, unshakably kind in the most stressful situations.
Mm.
And really, at no point, he had such a clear vision. At no point did he shift from that, or would he be swayed by outside voices. And I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I've found that to be such a rare thing, to be someone of that integrity. And he sort of fostered this real community, right from his position as a director. I'm sure you're aware, Law, that films can often feel quite hierarchical. Um, and this certainly didn't feel this way. It felt like he really fostered open conversation with everyone, and he had time for everyone. And that's a gift to be a part of, because you don't feel that pressure, you don't feel that pinch. You just feel like you're among friends, and that you have an open space to investigate the things that he's interested by.
You feel trusted by him,
Yeah.
and that's very empowering. Like you're more likely to experiment, play when you feel that.
Oh, I mean, this is impossible without him. I mean, it's all Justin. The it's all heart. The film is all heart, and that is Justin. It's his expression of how he feels about people. I think it's the film is so moving is because it's so passionate, and I've seen Justin like from day one of knowing him, so deeply dedicated to this project, and the film was very personal to him, and which is, I think, very obvious when you watch it.
Mhm.
So it was pleasure working with him. He's really one of the very few people that is just truly, truly kind that I've worked with.
There's the painting, right? And John talks about wanting to put his hand and enter Narnia and like kind of go on his own adventure. And it became the guiding light for like where his life and adventure was going to go. And I think you guys kind of touched on it, but I would love to hear what was kind of your guiding light or motivating force when it came to fulfilling the roles that you had in this film.
I tried to tune in to a frequency that maybe I'm not usually tuned into in my normal everyday life, and receive what I've always felt that John was present in the making of this, is present in this right
Mhm.
now. I feel like he's very here. And what that means, I don't know, but in saying that, I feel I'm opening a window, and letting whatever needs to be said be said.
Mm.
You don't work on every role this way, but this role kind of that felt like, because there's so little information, there's so little concrete information, you can't really rely on your smarts.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to feel. It's a feeling kind of process, which, back to what you were saying about Justin, creating this trusting environment was necessary for to honor that kind of space and to make this film even happen.
Yeah, Justin is an amazing North Star. I've got to say also the other actors who, inhabit these people really just brought something, like you say, Ken, a frequency which it stops becoming an intellectual exercise and it just starts to become two people trying to find things together.
Justin talks a lot about like that initial judgment that people have when they hear about John's story, but how has this film changed your perspective on John Allen Chau, if at all, and kind of like seeing the humanity behind the headline?
I don't think it's about, for me, just about John Chau. It's about anyone. It's about trying to understand what makes the person the person you see. We always look at the person, we look at the cover and we judge the cover, but we never ask the question, what made it that? And I think that's what's very important.